So, good morning. We come back to
Hi, Antonio.
hi, Thomas. So we can start to the last part of the perfect. When you want to, you need to record it or
Yeah, it's recording is on.
okay, perfect. So I'll continue. Perfect.
Yep.
So, so let's start by this is the second part of the third session. So we will continue by explaining the second part of the first day of March. Well, first of all, before starting this decision making and the reasons, let me make a break for explaining the exercise for today. So today, for the people that didn't attend the classes for today, they need to carry out the proper exercises that I need to explain right now. And I would like to explain very profoundly this sort of exercise. If you go to the UA Cloud or to the Cloud Health IT and website, you can find the exercises for today. In terms of 1st of March, you click on 1st of March. Practical assignments, you will find two exercises. These exercises are related to what we studied yesterday. So that's the idea. We have a gap there, but in order to have time to review different texts or modules or theory contents, you have to share of exercises. The first exercises has to do with we explained drill down technique. So the same, how the University of Alicante might improve sustainability through the drill down technique by using the conceptual map. So this is an example that we saw yesterday in terms of drill down example. This is the first model. Remember that there are three perspectives of drill down. I chosen the first one, the first down, so you need to use the conceptual map. And then after using the conceptual map, you need to find what is called root causes, that is why, and then solutions. The difference between, as I said, this first session for today is in between drill down technique and fan concept. It's like here you can't come back. Okay, this is the problem. You need to start to find solutions. However, in terms of fan concepts, you need to move a step back, and it allows you to study the problem with a broad approach. So is this here you have an example. So it's not very complicated. You need to radiate the different options here, to radiate by using these different links. And then, well, you need to find solutions for different problems. And the problems, for me, the only concern that I want you to use is for instance, has to do with sustainability or something about circular economy or the same. I put an example of the University of Alicante. You need to use the university of or your local country, so you can use. But something about to improve the university, the sustainability, for instance, of the campus of your local university, and take me one example. So this is the exercise. I think it's not very complicated. Think about it. You can't use the example of University of Alicante if you have a proper idea, or you're working in a very good idea that you need to use in future. Well, you can use as well. It's not the idea is to put an example to enhance the students to use an example of a local university. However, as said before, if you studied, you realize that it could be to use another idea that has not any concern with the University of Alicante. So it's up to you. All right. So this is the first exercises for the second exercises for today has to do the same. This is the exercise 2 that this says use the fishbone diagram sample with regards to sustainability of circular. So what I want you is like something like this. You need to study it on the right, and then you study the different you need to radiate the different parts and measurements, materials, methods, environment, manpower, and machines, and then you radiate its different consequences, brainstormings, and sub-consequences. But the students some students say, well, Antonio, could you explain fishbone diagram better? Because I wanted to do that, and I have some ideas, but I don't want to implement in the fishbone ideas or the same. But you can use the problem in terms of the sustainability or circular economic concerns. Something here, the problem is ironing products. So ironing products in a product that affects the damage, the pollutions of the in terms of that is not is aggressive, or perhaps it's in a product, perhaps it's something that the consumers need to use and they show some damage, but you need to know where the iron comes from. And this is something that we explained in terms of yesterday, in terms of methods, materials, methods, environment, manpower, and machines. But in order to get this knowledge better, I will show you another example. So this is before starting the last point in terms of today. I will to explain it with another example to do this fishbone diagram. And this is what I want you to do right now. Right now to explain the issue of the fishbone diagram. For the fishbone diagram, it's a good example. So it's what you study, is what is feasible to show you to brainstorm ideas and separated ideas. So this is what we saw yesterday. We started to show these examples, brainstorm, explaining the statement, exploring the effects on the right, then put the categories, then start to brainstorm different, why does it happen, and to show different ideas. Okay, so this is an overall, this is a very summarized explanations, but in terms of the business of the fishbone diagram. All right. So they divide it in different parts: problem, brainstorm the categories, write the category for causes as branches, and then try to brainstorm why did it happen, and then again ask what is happened and try to use sub causes. So this is a good approach. And then we studied this example. We saw the example of iron. Here the example of iron. However, in terms of the apart from the iron example that we showed yesterday, here is the example that we showed yesterday. This is the example. I wanted to show you today other approach in terms of fishbone diagram. So remember that this is related to the exercise that you need to do today. Here the same. I'm going to put in bigger. Okay, perfect. So the exercise 2 has to do with it. This is the effect. This is the different cause of the to try to solve the effect. So I divided it in different parts to be more practical. First, identify, define the effect. This is the effect that you need to establish a problem on obesity. For instance, that you need to solve it. Perhaps is the water, perhaps is the use of plastics, perhaps is the people try to commute themselves by the car rather than cycling, or is the effect of the people not to receive paper, or the people use massive use of plastic at the restaurants or the coffee bars, or the people try not to recycle the cups or the coffee, whatever it is. This is the effect. So first of all, remember that in terms of exercise 2 for today, identify and define the effect. I think it's very clear. Sometimes it's positive or negative. Positive, negative, it has a concern about sustainability and a negative effect, but sometimes we need to change our mind and looking on the bright side and being positive, looking on the bright side and be with positive, something that you need to achieve. Perhaps is to get a goal, perhaps to get an aim, and how to get it to get this goal or to get the aim. Perhaps it's a target, perhaps it's something that is something positive and in terms of profitability or whatever it is. Here I put another example to understand it. Well, this is something about talking about contaminations, pollutions. So sometimes cars are poor gas mileage. Poor gas mileage. Mileage involves that, well, the way that you burn the fuel is not quite good. No, it's poor. It's poor, so it's not very clean. And sometimes this is, you can't see it in the atmosphere because you breathe, and the breath is very normal. For instance, it's normal. It's in Madrid, Barcelona, the contaminations are very there. Now when they are not raining, you breathe yourself, and you have a lack of air in your chest. Sometimes you just chest it. I suffered it when I was living in Madrid a lot, and sometimes I realized that my dress are dirty of something. No? I said, well, this is contamination, will come to contamination. But polluting the atmosphere. So this is the poor gas mileage, something is a problem that we have with the cars today. So we need to solve it. Why is the reason that a very typical shore of car have a poor gas mileage? By solving it, try to solve the pollution of the atmosphere as well. So try to solve. So this is a company car that study why the cars have poor gas mileage. Just try to solve it. Well, the same. This is the first step. The first step. The second, put the model, identify the main categories as well with the effect as well. I think it is understandable. And then the 4th, this is what you need to start right now, is to start now to show you the different causes. What is the causes of poor gas mileage? Perhaps in machinery is that there are underinflated tires. It's normal when you go cycling. I like cycling. So my tires are underinflated. I need to make a little more effort to go around. No? So it would be the same. Something that has to do with machineries is under inflated tire. It's not related to the carburetor adjustment, but perhaps is the first approach. But underinflated might be another causes. Methods, for instance, drive too fast. People, the more the speed, the more contact pollute the atmosphere. Use wrong gears also is common to pass here in Spain when they decided to change the different signals of the motorway by telling that the people need to go less than 120 kilometers, no, in order to tackle the problem of contamination or pollution of the atmosphere. Also, the people drive too fast, also wrong gears. This is very common. You get used to have a car. So the problem is when you have wrong gears. So sometimes contaminated it. This is sometimes people advise you, no, you are too fast to go on there. You need to put 4, you need to put 5, or whatever it is. So it's very normal in terms of get a car. People sometimes poor driving habits as well. Poor maintenance might be the explaining. Poor driving habits or poor maintenance as well, or improper lubrications or wrong octane gas material as well. Depends on the gasoline, the gas that you use. The people stick to the low cost gas, and however they find that the gas is quite worse than others. Well, this is a theory. Perhaps it's I don't know it's true or not true. Perhaps it's like who knows? There are a lot of theories about this low cost gasoline is worse than others. Well, the gasolines, the different companies, well, try to, I don't know, they didn't ask you, they don't ask you a very accurate response. Okay. Well, here is what I need to do. Is this is the effect, but however, the difference between the first one and the second one. Let's start, for instance, because I wrote or hour, you say, oh my God, a lot of hour I can understand. No, look at it because it's very interesting. It's very interesting if you decided, for instance, the first one, no? The people. People, poor maintenance is the cost, the poor driving habits. Look at the arrows. The arrows are how they radiated. For instance, here, the poor maintenance is there are other subcauses that is no aware sense, or perhaps is the price, the money, the price of it, the lack of resources, and have to look with poor maintenance. You have lack of resources, not you didn't do, you wouldn't do a good poor maintenance. And in terms of poor habits as well, poor training, it involves in the poor gas, because your training has been you are a bad conductor or bad driver, so perhaps you have poor training. Or when in Rome, well, when in Rome is a saying in English, saying that when in Rome, do as the Romans do. No? Sometimes if you are, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, it was that you were in England, you need to go on the left, or you need to respect the signals as well to stabilize your car to different habits or whatever it is. No, so this is the in terms of poor driving habits, according to what with expectations. As put the example in Spain they say the government decided to limit it, the speed of the cars to 110 kilometers. Then they changed it, but in terms of pollutions, they decided to change it. No? So even though in your country you are more than 102 kilometers, when they say when you Rome do as the Romans do, is you need to stick to the rules of the capital. I don't know in German, for things they are for free, they can speed better than others. Perhaps you can put your car more than 140 kilometers or whatever it is. So very important. Here, methods, that's the same. You compare methods. You use wrong gears, drive too fast. Drive for very interesting in terms of when it comes to methods. Use wrong gears. Why did you use your wrong gears? How do you use your wrong gears? Well, perhaps I can't hear very well. Could be something about the motor is not working well. So perhaps because my radio is too loud as well, and I can hear the engine as well because I is. So remember, this use wrong gears is the first one. Use wrong gears, and the second one is can hear engine. So this is first approach is has to do with use wrong gear. So cause is I can hear engine. When you will hear engine, you see is well, why you can't hear your engine very well, because the poor is poor hearing. The hearing is very low, or perhaps because my radio is very loud. So that's the reasons, in order to sub reasons, in order I can hear the engine, and then I can use the wrong gears. No? Here is the same. Drive too fast. Drive too fast. What is the cause? With impatient. You are impatient. Are you impatient person in terms of drive too fast? Too fast. Where you are impatient, you say why do you tend to be impatient? Perhaps you say always late, no? Because I'm always late, always late. Other solutions. Why do you always late? Perhaps because I put my clock at whatever reason, no? Then, well, the idea is to know exactly different subcauses, and this is the subcauses is always late because, and this is I'm very impatient. And so try to think about different causes and subcauses. The same with the machinery, machinery in terms of the first one, for instance, underinflated tires or carburetor. Underinflated tires. Underinflated tires, here the causes is no record. You have different causes. One of them is no recorded of the tire pressures. This is a person that very lazy. People have a lot of issues on my mind, and this says no record of tire pieces. Sometimes you record it, you put a record in a piece of paper, or also, you know, exactly. It's true that nowadays the technology show you when they record the person you need to press it by, because it's very the technology is inserted in the cars, and they advise you when some logo appears when the correct inflated, you are on your wheels are underinflated. Well, it's true. No record of tires, but depend on the car, and also sometimes it's because difficult air system. Difficult air systems has to do. It's difficult to air systems sometimes, or this a problems on the wheel appears for inflated it appears difficult air system. Perhaps is because the tube you need to put the bone, and the design is not very accurate, and every time you connect it, the machine to inflated air, so you realize that it's okay, but it's not okay because of the problems with this tube or whatever, the poor design. Also here the same. If here you compare to you have other carburetor the same. Carburetor is here. Carburetor, and look at this. Carburetors has to do with the fuel mixture rates, because the elections of this gasoil, oil, or gasoline is very rich in something mineral. No? And well, perhaps why is this so rich? Because they didn't know out that the mechanic doesn't know about adjustment procedures. Perhaps you need to put one rich more, but not minerals, or less minerals, and people say that, but you are injecting gasoline in your car, putting gasoline in your car, but you are not very well the gasoline that you need to choose it, because you think that low cost is better than others, whatever it is. And finally, very interesting is the material. Material, you say run octane gas, improper lubrications. Well, perhaps not improper lubrications. Well, you have no oil change. Perhaps it's a run oil. You run oil or no oil change. Sometimes it's not you don't change. It's a question of money, of run oil. Run oil. Perhaps you have no idea about the oil that you need to use. Or no, because you have no owner's manual. We are not telling you that you prefer to put gasoline rather than oil or other type of fuel. But sometimes depends on the classification. There are oils that have more minerals, less minerals, and you have no ideas because you have no owner's manual. They see what is better. Indeed, I think my wife bought a car and said some long time and say, what? They say, what about the best gas, the best oil I need today? Well, it depends on you. You want to, sometimes there are theory like this, I will do that, I will do, but depends on the commercial, the people advise one thing or other things, whatever it is. Raw octane gas, the same, don't know recommended octane, don't know recommended that or no owner's manuals. What are the causes? Not have no idea, but no owner's manual. So in overall, when you just don't eat that, it's finished. No, look for causes that appear repeatedly. You need to focus which is the causes that appear repeatedly. Look for what you can measure each in it and try to quantify and identify in a circle the causes that you can take on action. So three actions are really, very important. Take action on it. So where you can take action. So look at these effects are repeated. Remember that the first example that I put it in terms of ion sum effects in terms of calibrations appears in different parts. So it could be to focus if the cause repeats in every part. And look for if you can measure each cause and you quantified it. So that's very, very important. Example, in this example, in that we've got the level of the trace is pretty well. They are not repeated, no causes are repeated, so but we can choose it. Poor maintenance appear to be a cause of which we can develop measurements, so poor maintenance. So the idea where I can cope with this part perhaps is in people, because they are not in these areas. It's very complicated, or perhaps in this idea perhaps is here, but depends on the people. The people decided that the poor maintenance, in this case, the poor maintenance, the cause of develop measurements. And this is the idea that I circle it, the poor maintenance. Sometimes is for this driver. This is the poor maintenance, is that can control it, but rather better than others. So it could be the cause that I need to focus on it. Okay. Well, that's perfect. So this is the exercise for today. Try to identify which causes you think you can take action on. Perhaps there are other actions. Perhaps you can use your own gear, but you can take action because you have bad habits. And you say, well, use your own gears. Well, sometimes you have bad habits, and the habits are very ingrained in your ways, and it's very difficult to modify. However, it depends on the people. Depends. You talk to me, but at time, I don't know. You can change bad habits, but in this case, particular case, yeah, we assume that this driver can change the bad habits. And however, they can invest in they can put money to increase to get it better, the maintenance. So this is the two exercises for you need to do in the exercise 3. Okay, in the exercise, I think it's clear. So perfect for today to do these exercises. And then, so when you just explain it, then I will continue by explaining the next part of the second part of the 1st of March, that is called decisions in terms of uncertainty. Well, I think we just explain it. What is risk and what is uncertainty? Let's start by explaining it. So in terms of criteria, I put some examples to understand it. And sometimes our decisions depends on the probability of methodological information. So sometimes, well, here the spring are very rare. Sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's sunny days, or whatever. So here is an example of sustainable outside second-hand trade. So in terms of circular economy, a sustainable outside second-hand trade, a ticket seller expect to earn 16 euros. If it doesn't run for one holiday, it's very normal here to have this second-hand trade in terms of circular economy, sustainable issues, second hand, and well, try to send. And this is my expectation is 16 euros. So the expectations is compared to other years. You have the expectations. You know very well about the ticket, the money that you got in the past. So this is 16 euros. Could be, well, it could be the better, 10% more, 10% less, but this is an average. If it rained, he estimated that he will lose 5,000 euros. Well, that's I think is very understandable. When it start raining, the people leave the places, they trade, and they decided to go on other places. But it's very here, at least in Alicante, or perhaps in other populations or cities, could be different. The methodological informations predict a probability of 5 5 divided 6 of no rain and 1/6 of rain, and calculated the expected value of profit for the seller. Well, expected value is what is a mathematical term. Don't be afraid about the number. It's expected value. This is very common, so you need to. The probability is very common when you go to you look for an app, for instance, in looking for the forecast, the weather, but you know exactly the prediction. It's very common to see a prediction. The prediction for raining is 80%. The prediction of not raining is whatever. Sometimes they are accurate, sometimes not, but well, this is the prediction. And calculate the expected value. Well, you see it, perhaps you say, well, perhaps it's the pencil could be 16 of. You have make an approach, depends on what you earn of not. Well, you know that is you good in terms of it doesn't not rain, the 5 divided 6, that is the probability 0.833 is divided, is make is to calculate this fraction, okay? The fraction is 1 and 6. The probability to rain is 83%. 80% it would be the probability of rain. The probability if it's not raining, if it rains is 0.166. So it's 16%. Well, what is expected to Mario? In terms of monetary value, in terms of risk, we need to compensate it. So in terms of what you expect is neither 16 nor 5 losses. Have a losses of 5,000 euros if it rains. Well, at the expected to monetary value, you need to plus the two parts. First, an earnings of 16 euros with a probability. However, losses by diminish the losses with 5,000 euros. 5,000 euros is the losses. This is the reason for this minus, like appear here. So the consequence is 2,000 euros. This is the expected monetary value. The expected monetary value is the sum of the products of the expected value in each scenario. Here, remember, I put this is minus because this is 5,000 euros if it rains. That's the idea to put here. Here is minus. I put here for know about you. This is minus 15 euros if it rains, if that's in this particular case. So this is in terms of risk. This is the terms of risk. However, sometimes you know the probability. You need to know apart from the decision. Well, the decision is expected. My expected monetary value is positive. I think it's 12,000 euros and 500. So it's good. 12,500 is good and well positive. So the course of action is quite good. I could do this event. I would carry out this performance because in terms of the expected monetary value is positive. So I need to run this second-hand trade ticket because it's positive. Is in terms is theoretical according to the probability of the theoretical projections. For someone say, well, Antonio, is it possible to run this sustainable second-hand trade with this data, with this information that I collected the data? You say yes, of course, because the positives we earn, at least according to the expected monetary values, is 12,000 euros. Is positive. What is positive depends on the budget. Perhaps the budgets are very accurate and very is 13, perhaps not, but it's under the cost budget. Perhaps you might say, well, we have profits because the expected monetary values is 2,500 euros. Well, when you just define it, it's time to start by explaining the second part. So in terms of decision, what we studied today, the grid analysis, the ponderation is one. The second, in terms to know the probability, calculated the expected monetary value. So it's very important to show that you recognize something study, you make a research or make a very report by showing that your expected monetary value, expected value is positive. So you show that your best course of action is carry on if it's positive. No? If this is not positive, it's negative. Here, for instance, last example, we talk about to earn. This is 16 euros. So this is incomes. Incomes. Remember that then in terms of profit, it's different. You need to, the revenue have to diminish the what is called the cost. We here in the sample didn't say something about the cost, but depends on the cost. Depend if the expected monetary value could be good or not. Okay, I think it's well, for the people that are not very concerned about in terms of cost or monetary, I think it's understandable to understand this is, we've said that it's positive, but for us, it's perfect. Well, the other option for today is to end up by explaining the second part, the criteria and certainty is when I need to take action, when I need to make decisions in terms of uncertainty. Decision making in uncertainty involves study uncertainty, and sometimes the uncertainty is real. Uncertainty involves when you have no aware about the probability. The scenarios are very they are not very accurate or inaccurate at all. So we have not probability, neither a secure scenario. We have no idea. And in order to explain this criteria, I will start by explaining a problem. A problem, for instance, the same sustainable plastic greenhouses. Sustainable plastic greenhouses before the coming winter. When you say sustainable plastic greenhouses, it's plastic that, well, perhaps this plastic is not contaminated, not pollutes the soil or the earth, require a different type of coating, and each one has a different cost. There are three possible alternatives. So this farmer decided to use sustainable plastic, but in terms of sustainable plasticos, they have three possible options they need to use: insulated plastic, resistant plastic, or perforated plastic. So well, there are three scenarios. Well, three scenarios depend on what? Well, depends on the weather, but the weather is uncontrollable. It's not controllable. You can control the weather. So there are three scenarios in terms of uncertainty. It's called a state of nature that is cold, rainy, and windy as well. There are three scenarios. And depends on the plastic, you get one profits or not. This depends on, this is the same that when you start to explain grid analysis. No? Depending on scenario, you have different options, profit or loss, depending on scenario. So insulated plastic is a plastic that you can isolate wherever the weather. In terms of winter, they isolate very well. This plastic, or term the resistant plastic. Resistant plastic is to tend to stay, for instance, the rainy, insulating perhaps the windy, or perforated plastic, the windy as well. Resistant plastic could be something that's very resistant in terms of the rainy, they can cope with rhythm. Perforated plastics, when the windy comes, well, perforated because the windy comes from the holes of the plastic, well, they can support more windy situations, windy environment. So different ideas in terms of insulated. Insulated perhaps is the weather, the cold, the rainy as well. So we have three scenarios. Well, let's start by looking these scenarios. and this is the choices, the choices. So this is a very, we say matrix, or matrix. No, you have three scenarios, three possible alternatives. Or put insulating plastic, or put a resistant plastic, or put perforated plastic. Three choices. Well, insulate for cold days, perhaps, or insulated or resistant plastic for windy days, or perforated plastic for windy days as well, resistant for rainy days as well. So insulating for depends on the weather. So you have three choices, and the choices shows these quantities. If you have the first scenario, for instance, the first one is this is the matrix here. So this is the choices. I put the choices in thousand of euros. I think it's in thousand of euros here, 1,000 euros. So the scenario that this start shows that if I put insulated plastic, the profits are very insulated is for resist temperatures. No? So perhaps depends on the plastic. The plastic can cope very well these different kind of temperatures. Today there are very extreme colds in Alicante, for instance. So in terms of you use these greenhouses, the greenhouses are more suitable for using insulated because the extreme colds. So it's snowing here, also in Mallorca, in every place of Spain, this is snowing. So if this farmer decided that put insulated plastic, or 2 months, 3 months ago, after to pick up the different to the growth, before the growth, well, we can take the profit of 20,000 euros. If scenario is some farmer did that for is perfect, 20,000 euros in terms of, because I put insulated plastic. However, insulated plastic because it's not good in rain. Rain is not working very well. So the expectations are very disaster. Disaster minus 5,000 euros. In terms of windy, not too bad, but I have losses as well, minus 2,000 euros. Resistant plastic, you need resistant plastic in terms of rain is quite good. Right? Resistant plastic, we talk about the isolations of waterproof. Perhaps we talk about resistant plastic in terms of waterproof. And in terms of waterproof, we see that 10,000 euros. 10,000 euros is what I get from resistant plastic, because they can isolate it by the water. The water don't enter the plastic and don't affect very sensible, very sensible plants or wherever it is. Well, in terms of perforated plastic, remember it's perforated, the more it's perforated, well, the more it perforated, they are good perforated, the better they can cope with the windy situations. So, according to the first criteria of that I want to state today, perhaps I want to explain the first and the second, and tomorrow, because I explained the other criteria, I will focus on the first and the two scenarios, the way and B, and then stop it. And tomorrow we continue to the C, D, and E criteria, and for the last session. Well, they have, in terms of uncertainty, what is the criteria of Laplace. Laplace said, well, Laplace is like a person who say, here there are no options. So every time have the same probability to do that. So probability is considered the same probability. Even though we are talking about uncertainty, when we say same probability, is that the same choice to occur. So depends on the scenarios, you divide. And so it's very simple. You need to use the profits and losses by multiplied it by divided 1 divided 3, this fraction. These fractions, 1 to 3. 1 to 3, and 1 divided 3 as well. And depends on the scenarios here. There are 3, so divided 1 and 3. 1 divided 3. 1 divided 3, the probability is the same. The probability is 0.333, 33% in that scenario. 33%, 30%, 30%. So according to it, you need to multiply it, and this is the result. By multiplying it, you take 3 different results. Which is the most favorable? But in this case, by using the Laplace criterion said that because they have the same probability, the most favorable is perforated plastic. So the strategy here will be, the decision will be to take a perforated plastic. So in this scenario, by using the Laplace criterion, maximum likelihood, the decision maker consider by taking account the same probability. There are no difference between probability. This is, of course, some should say, well, I have no idea about the probability. So use Laplace criterion, the same probability for any criterion. So the Laplace criterion consider that there are a great difference between different criteria. So you need to choose about the most favorable criteria, that is perforated plastic. I think it's clear. It's not very complicated to understand it. But the second and the third criteria of Portrait is to understand, when it comes to focusing on different scenarios or uncertainty, there are people that are very optimistic, and there are people that are very pessimistic. There are people, when you talk, you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, it's a bad day, everything is going wrong, it could be a disaster. Perhaps this client say no by saying no, perhaps the others say no as well, to be a disaster. When it comes to open your computer, you say, I expect to turn it down, and then to whatever it is, no, because you start to put enough negative thoughts in your mind, your negative thoughts in your minds, and you're. However, there are other persons, other short of persons that are very optimistic. Optimistic is when you decided that sometimes the best option is the preferable, when you focus on the best option and you are sure that the best options occurs. In this scenario, for instance, what is the best option? So there's two shore of people that think about it. The negative person, very pessimistic person, and the optimistic person. We will start with the optimistic. You consider yourself that you are a very optimistic person? Well, good question. No? For ask yourself, in case you are very, very optimistic, or you feel you see you look in the bright side. Every time you look in the bright side, you very feel positive. So, it's fantastic. Huh? So you said, huh? I have a joke here when the two brothers, two relatives. There was Christmas, and they are very, very they're relatives, and they are one very positive and very negative. No, there is a joke about it. It's very common in terms of positive, but let me know. I think half time, 1 minute to tell it. I think that's funny. Well, it's fun. They say it was Christmas, and the father says, "Well, we have two sons." However, I realized this is discussion with his wife. And say, well, why? I'm very worried because one is very, very positive, and another is very negative. What is possible? This is possible. They say, well, we need to tackle this situation, no? And they start to say, what it would be the present of Christmas 25th. So people expected the Christmas presents from Santa Claus. Well, I have an idea. Well, this is what we wanted to for the pessimistic. We will try to reconsider. We will to we will present a very, very fantastic present, a bicycle, very with a lot of technology. Oh, will be perfect for the, this is could be the present for the pessimist. And the optimist, that's very, very optimistic. We need to diminish the level of optimism. We need to think of something different. And they look for a defecate, a piece of seed, sorry, for the piece of seed, a defecate of the dog that I have here, defecation. They put the defecations in the piece of box, was this piece of seed, and put there. And you say, well, this is the 2%. Okay, put on the tree, no? And then the sons started. They wake up. Oh, ma, this is my present. It did work, no? When the pessimistic persons open the box, they say, oh, this is a bicycle, but I don't like the color. I don't like it. It's very tall to me. It's very, I don't understand how the technology come from. Oh, it's a pity. I don't like the wheels as well. But I prefer to get it, but I don't like mom and don't like father. Oh, the strategy is fair. Perhaps in terms of the optimistic, it works. And then when well, you know that the optimists will be worse this conversation between the man and the woman, and they say that suddenly someone is running out of the corridor and say, oh, fantastic. Oh, I'm very happy, mom. I'm very happy for papa. That I'm very happy. This is very, very shocking for them. It's not possible because it's a defecation of the dog. How is my possible? What happened? What happened, son? What happened, son? They are looking for a horse. If it work, how? Yes, because I saw that it's a defecation on the bus, and they're looking for the horse that I put in the car for Santa Claus. So they're looking for a pony, or I believe a horse, because they thought that the piece of seed involves with the horse. So I don't know if you liked it, the joke or not, but this is a difference with something that is very optimistic and very pessimistic. So let's start by looking this before finish this session. The idea: what is the best option for these kids? That is very optimistic. This very, very, very optimistic. The best option is the maximum. They thought that the piece of seed involves the defecation involves the highest, and the highest is 2,000 euros. Okay, so in this case, this scenario, they focus on the best. Insulated plastic and cold scenario. So they thought that the best scenario would be to put insulated plastic, because they get the maximum. The math were very positive, and they say, well, that's for sure that will be cold, and that's for sure that will be insulated plastic. But I'm going to get the maximum. That the maximum is 20 in this scenario. Very optimistic. And what is the opposite? Well, take caution with it, because you see the different scenario, you see the worst, maybe it's a -80, no? But it's not like this. And the criteria of pessimistic is a little bit different. It's not the opposite to the maximum. The criteria of pessimistic criteria here, we explain it, the maximum, that is like this. The pessimistic or criteria word is different. You need to, you have the 3 different bad scenarios. What is the worst scenarios? If I choose the worst scenarios is -5 here. The other worst scenarios is -8, and the other worst scenarios is -3. So it's like, what is the worst disfavorable situations that I can get it? And I have it the worst, I get the better. This is how the criteria of pessimistic works. So the maximum of the minimums, this is the choices. What is the maximum of the minimum? So look at the worst scenarios in every choices. You have -5, you have -8, you have -3, 3 bad scenarios. Perhaps in these scenarios, I will take insulated plastic. Then the worst scenario is resistant plastic for this pessimistic. The other terrible is insulated plasticos. And well, first, in terms of the worst, is resistant. The second was perforated, and the less worse is insulated plastic. What I need to choose? Well, the less favorable, disfavorable. unless this variable in this case is perforated. So if you see like this, you have -5, you have -8, and you have -3. The better in these three scenarios is to focus on perforated. So my course of action in this green plastic, in terms of sustainable plastic from greenhouses, is to choose what is called the perforated plastic. Well, that's the idea for today. I think so. It's not so. The criteria, try to think about it. Try to think about different scenarios. Sometimes it's possible to see according to experience about it or whatever. However, the exercises of this criteria is for the last session. So it doesn't matter if you understand today the different criteria, or try to understand it. It's not, I think those is criteria, but today, remember that in the third classes has to do with the exercises of the topic 1, or the topic that we saw yesterday. Yeah? I'm going to finish for today in terms of the class for today's. Remember that when you finish the exercises, you can send the proper exercises of this session to the email is 888.anton slash your doc es. This is in the I think in the website, in the information of the content of the recorder. In the first, I put my email there, so you have probably to send this exercise to me. I will correct it and send my feedback as fast as I can. Okay, I think it's only understandable. Thank you very much, Samet, for being there, and as usual, recorded this session for the students. I appreciate it a lot. Nothing else. I don't know if the coordinator wanted to say something or not.
No, I just would like to thank you very much for another fantastic session. And I think today I will be very, very fast. So I need just maybe 1 hour. Actually, I have a meeting at 2 o'clock. So you say at around 3 o'clock or so, I will upload the video, the record, and I will send the email to the students. So all the students will get the record, say around 5 o'clock or so.
Okay, thank you very much.
They will start to solve the homework and the exercises.
Perfect. It sounds perfect. Very good. So nothing for today. Today, remember, is our last session of Generate Ideas, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye then. And remember, this is very important. Remember that we change our timetable. We will start at 11:30. 11:30, we will change our timetable for 11:30. This is something because of my agenda. I need to attend other issues in the university. So we change. We expect you at 11:30. 11:30, we will start our last session in terms of the generator. Remember, very important, 3:30, this will be the last.
I will send this email to the people tonight or today afternoon with highlighting this tomorrow session will start 11:30.
Perfect. Yep. So thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye. See you later.
See you. Bye-bye.